transition of physical to digital value, right? So that's how value is shifting. The next thing that's shifted in this process and is shifting now is human interaction, right? The way the world was running before the internet was, you need something done, you call a person, and they call somebody else, and they call somebody else. And then 6 people, and then they call somebody else, and they're like, no, Jerry's on break. And you go, okay, cool, when's Jerry back? In 2 hours. Okay, sounds good. 2 hours delay. Call Jerry. Jerry's like, yeah, I'll let Bob know when he comes in tomorrow. Okay, a day's worth of delay, just to get one box shipped somewhere. The internet allowed us to automate that entire process, and humans stopped interacting directly with humans in many capacities, and it allowed humans to interact with computers, and the computers to do most of the work, and then to interact with humans, so the inefficiencies in the system got taken away. But what it also did is, like, you ever get a call from somebody and you're like, you get a call and you're like, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, I just want to check on you. You're like, what's wrong with you? Well, especially our generations, we're like, if you send me a voice message, I get annoyed. And if you call me, it better be a fire to put out, right? So we stopped calling each other. We even stopped talking to each other. We stopped calling each other, we just text each other, Now with COVID, we stopped seeing people. We started Zooming each other, right? So the way humans interact has changed. Digital systems have been put in between human interactions. Like, it's always funny going to dinner and you see a whole family just sitting there on their phones. That's how humans interact now. Like, mom will text the kids upstairs to come eat dinner, instead of just the classic, come down and eat dinner. Those were good days. Good days when you'd hear the call go out. The transition, and that was just the transition until now. The transition going forward is going to be a hive mind. We're going to get rid of all of this stuff, and we're going to communicate psychically with each other. And I know this sounds like crazy science fiction, but the same way this thing was science fiction until 2007, and then it became de facto, Elon Musk is working on it. They're going to hook our minds up to the internet, and we're not even going to have to talk. We're just going to have to think, and whatever we think will happen. And that's 2032. So it's not very far away. It's 10 years away that will be already at the level of interacting with each other in a hive mind situation. Yes, at the same time, we get hooked up to an AI-based central system that can control our minds. I mean, that's shit. So we got to do something about that whole part. But that's where this transition's heading. And that's how the new paradigm is going to differ from the old paradigm. But also, beyond just human interaction, human experience is shifting, right? Like, we went from looking at people to looking at screens with people on them, right? We went from asking our friends, what did you do today, to just looking at a screen and knowing what my friend had for breakfast, which is like probably the worst part of the internet, when you just see food photos of every single meal that's been had, right? The transition that's about to happen, that's actually already happening live. People think it's going to happen tomorrow, but it happened yesterday, is the human experience is transitioning to a digital space. And that is being called the metaverse. But it's not the metaverse. That's a misnomer. It's metaverses. Metaverses will be like websites. And instead of the experience of the internet being at a place, welcome. Well, what's your name? Max, welcome. I'm SIM, like a SIM card. Instead of us experiencing the internet in like a screen, this screen is going to come out, right? So we are gonna go in the screen. So we're gonna tron this thing, right? We're about to go inside the internet. So a human experience is gonna shift to a space which is being had digitally. Look, when I'm saying these things, I'm not excited about it. I mean, the tech side of me is excited about it. The conspiracy side of me is terrified and is building farms, right? So, but it's my job just to explain this, because people don't understand the transition that's going to happen. Metaverses are experiential universes. So we're effectively building new universes, where what you see and what you hear, and then eventually what you touch and what you taste and what you feel, like literally your feelings, will be inside of these spaces. Not only will we go inside, it is coming out. into this world. So pretty soon, I won't know if Lena's there, right? I will see her, and then I'll have to go up and just be like, oh, no, that's a hologram. You know what I mean? So, and are you a hologram? Oh, you're real. Okay, thank God. Oh, thank God. Okay, so we won't, so the digital representations of things are going to come out into the real world. It's called XR, which is AR, VR combined. Now, at the same time, they're going to hook up AI to this thing, like godlike, omniscient AI that's going to know everything about every single person is going to turn into a person and sit in this seat. So it won't be like, hey, Google. It will be like, hey, hi, sorry. Hey, Siri. Hi, Siri. Nice to meet you. High five, Siri. Everybody will see Siri sitting there, and we will all know that's Siri. And we'll be able to ask it questions. And there'll be a million different use cases. There's millions and millions of use cases of this. No longer will we need screens. I can just make a screen pop up. No longer will we need ads. Ads will just pop up. No longer will we need traffic lights. Traffic lights will pop up. As a matter of fact, directions. If you see the artist rendering of this, directions are painted onto the roads themselves, and it auto-tracks the people walking into the road, and it automatically flashes and lets you know. And it'll auto-brake the car. It'll auto everything. So the experience of digital spaces is going to come out into the physical world. At the same time, what we're doing is we're taking the physical value that exists in this world. This is an interesting conversation for you guys. We're taking the physical value that exists in this world, and we're digitizing it, and we're putting it into this space, right? So, and we're going to go into the details of exactly how that's happening. When you have experiential universes that we can all go into, then locality as a concept disappears. Locality will mean nothing. Borders will mean absolutely nothing. It's already starting to happen. You know, people are sitting here and they're working in the US, and it doesn't make any difference. I mean, if you're in this room sitting here on a Wednesday at 11 o'clock, first of all, congratulations. You have really made it in life, because to you, days don't matter. They go, what day is it? You're like, today. You know, what day of the week? Today of the week. Like, doesn't matter, because we can do whatever we want whenever we want, because we've escaped the rat race, right? But even more than that, we've escaped locality. No longer do we have to live in the countries that we're from. No longer do we have to work in the country where you're working. We can operate across the world at any time. So locality as a concept has already disappeared. But I like how you got like the yoga pose in the back with the great, the posture on that is so amazing, bro. But locality as a concept is going to completely disappear. Like there's people we know that are building a digital twin of Bali. That means we can all meet in Bali whenever we want. And as a matter of fact, that digital twin, it's hyper photorealistic, but they've also added effects to it to make it like the perfect idyllic form of Bali, without tourists, without traffic, without any of the bullshit, without garbage. Okay? And now if you tell people, come to Bali, and they come to Bali and they go, who thought this is Bali? And you go, yeah. And they go, oh, I can visit a better version of Bali, digitally actually. And I can fly around like a dragon inside of it if I want, right? But we can meet inside of that space, and we will. Our children will. That's where the world is going to transition to. They will laugh at us and go, why do you want to go to France? Why do you want to go to Paris? It's full of tourists. I can go to Paris without tourists, and I can experience it at a way deeper level, which is an argument I can't do against or argue against. Well, I can argue against it a lot, but the concept of locality is going to disappear, and it's already disappearing. This one, people don't like it when I say it. These next two. Freedom as a concept is going to disappear. It's going to disappear for the people who choose not to build their own freedom. Because today we have, 30 years ago we had a lot of freedom. Today we have markedly less freedom than we had before. And my idea of freedom is doing whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, right? However you want. We have a lot less freedom today. But the world that's coming, freedom is going to become like the most rare thing on the planet, because they're going to build structures to take all autonomy away from us. Because apparently, us being free is ruining the world and it's generating carbon into the world, right? And it's partially true too, because we're free. What we do is, we eat, and we're free enough to throw the plastic in the river so it goes down to the ocean. So there's parts of our freedom which is, it's not cool. But freedom as a concept in this new world is going to become one for the history books. If you really want to be free in this new world, go get a farm, build your own economy, get your own water source, leave all technology behind, do not take flights, leave their entire system, teach your kids how to grow food from the earth, and then hope to God that your kids don't get mad at you, that you completely remove them from a paradigm where all of their friends and everybody exists, and you force these choices down their throat. Okay? Otherwise, if we want to live in this world, and we want to operate, we want beautiful buildings to go into, we want flights everywhere, we want to use banking systems, we want all the things that give us the freedom to do what we want today, but we don't want to follow the laws or the rules that are being built by the people who own those things. Those things are not, they don't agree. And the worst thing you can do is sit complacent. Because if you sit complacent, you are agreeing to everything that's being done to you. Do something about it. And I'll explain what we're doing about it to make sure that we maintain some level of freedom, or a lot of levels of freedom. But if we don't do anything about it, freedom as a concept is going to disappear in some capacity. What we call freedom is going to disappear. But at the same time, if you just, because everything is about perspective, right? Life is all about perspective. Because nobody knows the truth. We're all just hallucinating life, right? So if we can hallucinate whatever we want. So let's have a different hallucination. There's a new kind of freedom developing. Right now, the single most powerful unit in the world has become the individual, not governments, not armies. A single individual can take down whole countries. So then, technically speaking, the single human now has more freedom to change the world, to do what they want with their fingertips. I mean, we even just do it with the tips of our, this part of our thumbs, just under the nail. We don't even use anything more than that. And we can change the world with it, right? So that's freedom. I like that freedom. Finally, the playing field has become equal. Not even equal, it's become lopsided to our side. And our side, yeah, it's the techies. It's the techies, because we know how to run tech, we know how to build tech, we know how to create systems around it. So in some capacities, the power has shifted away from governments and away from the existing power structures towards individuals who understand how to control and build the systems. Like, I'll give you an example. We would never, ever, ever, ever put our children in strangers' cars, ever. That's just, the thought would be violent 12 years ago. And then Uber comes along, and the first thing we did is we put our children into strangers' cars. We're like, the only place I feel comfortable putting my teenager who's going to get drunk and drive is in a stranger's car. And this happened across the world, and happened in the snap of a finger. Some engineer somewhere came up with that idea. Just went, you know what, I think that's a smart idea. And then just with the tips of his fingers, created an app and launched it to the world. It shifted society. It shifted how society thinks and operates. The number of people getting driver's licenses across the world fell off of a cliff. The number of people putting their kids in strangers' cars shot through the roof. The number of people not owning cars completely shifted. The number of taxi drivers committing suicide completely shifted. The amount of pollution completely shifted. This one guy with this one app, and then countries had to stand up and go, what are you doing to our transportation infrastructure? We're going to have to fight against the evil that is Uber. And other countries went, we're going to call it Gojek, and we're going to put it inside. And then we're going to call it Grab, and we're going to make it here. That's a genius idea, bro. And then it gave millions of people jobs, and hundreds of millions of people jobs. The hundreds of millions of people fed hundreds of millions of kids. Okay, wait. Is that more freedom or is that less freedom? Right? That's one app. And then Airbnb did it. And then blah, blah, blah did it. So these engineers are building systems that are, at least they have more freedom to do what they want. And in many ways, they do give us more freedom if we take it, right? Freedom is not given. Freedom is taken. And freedom is protected. And the way it's not protected is smoothie bowls. Okay? If your goal in life is just smoothie bowls, good luck. Good luck. Because somebody's making your smoothie bowls, somebody's running your smoothie bowls, somebody's owning the buildings that make the smoothie bowls, somebody's delivering the smoothie bowls, somebody's running the commodity supply chains, somebody's running the entire country to make your smoothie bowl happen. And if you do not take part in that process, then somebody else makes all of your decisions for you. Therefore, enjoy the smoothie bowl, but then don't ask for freedom. If you want freedom, do something. Do something. And here's the simplest thing to do. Learn. Just learn. Learn how these systems work. Learn how to operate inside of the paradigm and also be able to protect yourself from the violations of whatever it's going to do to try to do to you and your children. But at least just learn. And the more knowledgeable you become along the way, there's places you can participate. So there's more freedom and then there's less freedom. I could go on about the freedom forever. The second one people don't like is privacy. Privacy as a concept is going to disappear. And there's no good side to this. It's just disappearing. I mean, we're already not private. They literally have however many people there are in the room, that's how many mics we have right now recording. I mean, we literally have 2 cameras recording right now, right? Our entire lives are being tracked. Even if, it doesn't matter if you have the tracking on or off or Android or Apple or whatever, we're being tracked at all times. And everything we do, everything we say, everything is being recorded. So privacy as a concept has already been disappearing, but just wait until you see the next stage of the internet. Just a side note, this next stage of the internet is not going to come along slowly. One day there will be an event, we will all talk about it, it's probably going to happen around 2024, between 2024 to 2025, sometime in that timeline, where they're going to flip a switch and completely activate all of these new systems that I'm talking about. It's already in the plan. It's called, the banking system is called the ICE 9 plan. In other spaces, it's called different plans. But they're going to flip a switch, and they're going to force you into the system. You have to, you'll have the I agree button and the I do not agree button. And you know what the I do not agree button does? It just kicks you out. That's it. It's like, I do not, what just happened? My computer just blew up. It's like, I agree means I submit 100%. And you know which button I'm going to click? I agree. Because I want the conveniences of this world, but I'm also capable of maintaining my own freedom because I'm building my own freedom with my own hands. And we're going to talk about how we're doing that. Privacy, I can't build anything to bring back the privacy. Like, privacy as a concept can't be protected and have access to all of these systems. So privacy is gone. When we're looking at privacy, financial privacy is going to be one of the first to go properly. I mean, digital privacy is already pretty gone. As soon as we enter these new spaces, that digital privacy is gone. But financial privacy is something that you can still protect. Thank you. Simply because the ones we called they, the so-called they, have built structures to develop financial privacy for themselves. And those structures are implementable by normal humans now. And those structures can be used by us, and they will never be shut down because that's where they're maintaining their financial privacy. And you may think like, well, why do I need financial privacy? I mean, if you're asking that question, we're too far behind. But financial privacy is still maintainable as long as you lay the groundwork first. Physical privacy is still maintainable as long as you make sure that you're building it for yourself, right? Like, you could literally put hedges around your place and you can have a place farther away. That's why our farm is in the middle of the woods, close to Singaraja, in an unknown location. And hopefully we can have privacy there. Digital privacy, not gonna happen. Okay, so now that we have that kind of basis groundwork laid, now let's look at the transition of the internet and what that transition is going to look like. So the transition up until now of the internet was Web 1.0, right? Web 1.0, guys, can you please not talk in the back? Thank you. Web 1.0 was the idea that the web was read-only. So you could only go and read things on the web. And the web was static. You couldn't change things. You could build a website, but you couldn't change you couldn't interact with it. Web 2.0 was the idea that not only do you watch the web watches you. Right? That's the world we've been living in now, where we are the products and we become, the web is extracting more value from us than it is. And this was another thing. The internet comes along and everybody's like, the net, the web is going to give us freedom. And it's like, nets and webs don't give you freedom. Like, it's literally in the word. Now it's like, blockchain is going to give us freedom. Great. So that we take the blockchain and we put it on the net and the web, and then we're so free, we're just off to the races of freedom with this one. We're going to decentralize the whole world and we're going to make it, yeah, right. Good luck with that. Web 2.0 is the internet we use today. Not only is it an internet that watches you and you get to interact with it and it extracts from you and you can extract from it, but it is owned by the ones who build it, right? It's owned by the companies who run the servers and own the technology. And we are simply the product that gets fed into it. And we do get value added to our lives, but there's a offset. There's an imbalance in how much value it extracts from us and how much value it gives back to us. They definitely extract more value. That's why they have more money, right? Because value is money. One of the points of value is money. Actually, money is the least valuable value there is. Money is by far the least valuable value there is. Like, you know what's value to me and success? Good meals with good people in good places, having good conversations. Everything else, it's all just bullshit. It's all a scam. If you guys are new here, I've said this 100 times, it's all a scam. Because it's all just getting to the point of having good meals with good people in good places, having good conversations, right? And then go to sleep and wake up and do the same thing again. So anyways, I digress. Web 3 is different. Web 3 is the concept where no longer are the computers run in one place by one company. The computers are being run by many, many of us across the world. That's what blockchain is. Blockchain is just computers that we run across the world, and we run an accounting book on it that keeps track of the transactions and some cryptography and stuff. But in simple terms, these computers are being run by everyone. And if you run the computer and you pay for the electricity and you take the risk, then you get paid back in the form of a coin. So the wealth can be shared between the people who are running the computers. That's one point. The second point is we can own the internet, right? So Ethereum is a network of computers that's running that you can program, just like the internet. When you own an Ethereum token, then you own some of the processing capacity of the computers. Because, in order to make the computers work, you have to pay in Ethereum to make it work. So what you have is processing capacity of the computers. So you can literally own the internet, the processing capacity of the internet. And then if you own one of the coins to one of the apps that's running on Ethereum, then you are a shareholder of that app, right? So you can not only own the internet itself, you can own a share of the apps, which are companies that are running on that network. Not only can you own that, you can own NFTs. So you can literally own characters in games, own land, own all of these things inside of that space. If you generate content, you can own your content. You can get paid for that content. Like the copywriting that's happening with Baliola, if a content producer produces content, right now, there's billions of dollars of Indonesian content that's being stolen by YouTube simply because the content producers don't know how to file the copyright. And they can't afford to file the copyright. With NFTs, we're making it so that it will be snap your finger and your copyright belongs to you, and then we upload it all to YouTube, and all the money that's supposed to go to those creators goes back to the creators, right? So you can own your content, you can own the internet, you can own apps, you can own, right? That's Web3. So what we're calling Web3 is already live. Some of the people who build it are sitting in this room. Many of the people who own it are sitting in this room and on this Zoom. So now, Now let's look at assets. Now let's look at the real world. What's here, right? One thing I woke up to a little while back, like 2.5, 3 years back, is, I mean, we knew crypto, most of cryptos are scams for like, been in crypto for 10 years. For 9.9 of those years, I know most cryptos are scams. Because when you, like by the way, here's a pro tip, right? Here's how you tell something's a scam. You go, what does it do? And if the person who's trying to get you to buy it can't explain it in one sentence, 1 to 2 sentences, maybe 3 sentences if it's like something top level, if they can't explain to you in 2 sentences exactly what it does, in stupid simple English, like I just told you, blockchain is a bunch of computers running accounting books on it that keep track of records. If they can't explain to you like that, put a red flag on that thing and go, this might be a scam, or this person just doesn't know how to translate it to English, which could realistically happen because the techies, they don't speak English. They speak techie, and the crypto heads don't speak English. They speak crypto, right? Okay, so what does it do? Explain it to me in 2 sentences so it makes sense in this real world. And then here's the kicker. Where's the money coming from? That's a really big one. Where's the money coming from? Because, okay, if value is money, and value is improving people's lives, are you improving people's lives? Is that where the money's coming from? Which is good. If they can explain to you how they're improving people's lives, you can tell how many people's lives they're improving. You can calculate how much that should be, how valuable that should be to the people whose lives are being improved, how much they'd be willing to pay. Therefore, you can calculate the value of the thing you're buying, and you can project, hey, is this thing going to go add more value or less value, right? That's an investment, a simple investment. When you ask that question, most people in crypto will just go, what? And they go, where's the value coming from? DeFi will go, yields. Yields, bro. And like, oh, your value's coming from yields? I don't think you understand the concept of value if you think yields are the value. Yields are a quantification of value. So that when you run that analysis, almost all of cryptos are scams. Almost all of them. There's probably about 10% that aren't scams because they do add value to people's lives, and they do have the ability to add shit tons of value to people's lives going forward. And obviously understanding that nuance is very important. But I digress. Let's look at how do the assets differ in this old world compared to the new world, right? First, let's just think about, okay, we've created a completely new asset class. Like, crypto is not a cryptocurrency. It's not. It is a new asset class. And the asset classes we had are, real estate, commodities, securities or stocks, cash, if you want to count it as cash, and financial products. I don't count financial products as an asset class because they're fake. They don't even actually exist. So we only had a few asset classes. And, stocks were invented 200 years ago. That's the last time we invented an asset class. Real estate was invented by God, right? Now we've invented a completely new asset class. It's called digital assets. So those digital assets are modalities of storing value that are what we just talked about. The internet is useful, therefore they store value. Apps are useful, therefore they store value, right? Investment is useful, so it stores value. This new asset class that we created is going to swallow all of the other asset classes, because the whole point of the world is to become more efficient. This is how our world works. If you find a more efficient system, it will take over the old system, 100%. That's why 10 years ago when I read the Bitcoin white paper, I knew already that it's going to take over everybody's life. And it's coming. It's being done live today. So inside of those digital asset class, we've created new modes of adding value to people's lives. So I'll give you an example. In the middle of COVID, Gozian is managing a 200,000 person community of Indonesians who don't have jobs, who can't feed their kids because tourism shut down and everything. You were as well, Vivas. They figured out a way to take NFTs inside of a game, which are game characters, and investors invest in them, and they gave it to people to play. And the people played the games, and the people made money from playing the games. And the people fed their children by playing the games. Now we're talking. What does it do? It feeds kids. That's the kind of value we love. Feeding kids is like pretty much the only value that exists in the world that's the most important to all of us. In the middle of COVID, 5,000 families made Western grade money in Indonesia by playing games. Isn't that great? Anybody who hates the metaverse should really rethink their idea of the positive side of things as well. We can't just have bias around, oh, my world was like this, therefore you're changing the world, therefore I hate it. How many kids did you feed? No, you had a smoothie bowl. How many kids does your smoothie bowl feed? Not any more than was being fed before you had the smoothie bowl. I'm very passionate about this because people gain self-righteousness from a resistance to change, yet choose to do nothing about it. Yet our friends fed 5,000 families here, and so many families in the Philippines had to come up with a new tax regulation so that these families would actually pay tax. Welcome to world change, right? So there's these new value models that are digital world specific. They're digital world specific. But, so actually, let's talk about more of those. So that is NFTs. You know, what they actually bought, what the investors actually bought were NFTs. Those NFTs were game characters, and those game characters are what allowed this process to happen. Another digital-only value model is owning the internet. Like, you can't own HTTP, right? You can only own companies. We're now allowing people to own the internet itself. We're allowing people to own the infrastructure of the internet, the computers themselves, allowing them to own the processing capacity of the internet, which are the coins of layer ones, like Ethereum and Solana and all of them. Then we're allowing people to own not just the shares of the company, which is tokens, but the brand of a company. Because these companies, you could buy shares of these companies too. You could buy shares of Consensus, or you could buy shares of companies that run these layer one blockchains. You can still buy the shares. So then with the token, what are you buying? Another share? Technically, you could think of it like a different asset, share class, but actually what you're buying is the brand, right? You're buying the brand of the company itself. And right now, I can buy Coca-Cola shares, but I can't buy Coca-Cola the name. I mean, I don't even buy Coca-Cola the product, but this is just an example, right? With tokenization, I can buy the brand Coca-Cola. And the brand Coca-Cola is way more valuable than the share of the company that's Coca-Cola. So now digitally, we can allow you to own the brand itself. Fantastic, digital only. Plus, no longer is it only wealthy people in wealthy countries who can access stock exchanges that can buy it. Ketut can buy it. He can buy 5,000 rupiahs worth of it, or 1,000 rupiahs worth of it, 10 rupiahs worth of it. Which is, you know, to us, we're like, oh, I don't like the world that's being built. Ask him. Ask the guy who fed his kids. He goes, I love this world. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing us to feed our children with money that you guys have kept in the West. And we're bringing that money and we're giving it to Indonesians and feeding kids with it, right? At the same time, there's assets being created inside of the metaverse. Metaverses. So they exist only in the digital space. Because if people are going to experience the internet in a digital space, then people will want things in the digital space. They'll want art, which is the first manifestation of this thing, because that's people can understand that ownership of art is something that's valuable. But people want to have game characters, people want to have clothes, people want to have villas, people want to have special experiences from people inside of these digital spaces. So this asset class is creating a new way to own digital things inside of digital spaces. Okay, enough about digital shit. Let's talk about the physical shit. This is where you guys come in, the real estate side of things. So what we're doing live today is we're tokenizing real world assets. So what tokenization does is it takes real world assets, it breaks them into chunks, and then makes them digitally investable. And it's verified on the blockchain, so you don't have to ask notaries or lawyers or governments. You don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to deal with any humans who could corrupt the process, and allows anybody from across the world to buy small pieces of the real world assets. So the simplest one for people to understand is real estate itself. We're doing it with Real Estate Live. We're about to tokenize a 100-villa project in Indonesia, and we're tokenizing malls and hotels in Malaysia and Singapore live today. And we're going to literally take them, register them with the right agencies to make sure that they're regulated and they're official, and then you basically turn them into little tokens. And if you have $1 million project and you have 1 million tokens, that means each token is worth $1, and somebody can buy 1 token, half a token, a millionth of a token, and they can purchase. And right now, if you want to buy real estate in Indonesia, good luck. Cancel all your appointments. Make sure you sleep well for the next year. Call notaries and lawyers and the government and the banjar and the people and the guy and the documents, and then get it all together, give it to them. They run an analysis on it. The lawyer's like, I think this is real, but we can't be sure because it could be scammed, it could be faked. Let's go to the notary, let's go check, make sure this is a notary that's not their own notary, so that's our notary, so they're not scamming us. And the notary checks, and everybody takes a fee along the way, and then they check with the government to make sure, hey, is this legit? You haven't even gotten to the point of buying the real estate. You just got to the point of thinking about buying real estate. And a few months down the road, you're exhausted, and you finally get to the conversation of buying the real estate. And then you want to buy the real estate. And then you got to transfer the money to buy the real estate. And then you go to your bank and try to transfer the money, and the money, they're like, what? You want to transfer our money? And you're like, no, this is my money. They're like, no, this is our money, because you signed the paper that this is our money. It takes you 6 months, and this happened to a huge properties developer, did all of this stuff, bought the land, built a hotel, put $10 million into building a hotel, built a hotel. When the hotel was complete, the real landowner walked out and went, that is not that guy's land, that's my land. Thank you for building the hotel on top, get off of my land. Took the hotel and the land. That's how real estate works today. That's why nobody wants to buy real estate, or I don't want to buy real estate. So how are we changing that? We're taking it. We're doing all of that crap up front, and then we're connecting the ownership of that real estate into an entity that legally owns the real estate, tokenizing the entity and breaking it up into shares, registering it with SEC and the global regulators so that they get to vet and verify. The Indonesians verify, they verify that everything is legit and official, and then the person who wants to buy the real estate goes on their phone, clicks a button, instantly buys 1 millionth of a real estate project. Now, no longer do you need one guy with $1 million to come in who's going to be like, wait, you want me to invest $1 million into this piece of land? And what, 5 years down the road, hopefully the value goes up, and then sell it for a profit? That's a lot of risk. I got $1 million of risk exposed for 5 years. Are you going to give me 15% returns? How are you going to give me 15% returns, right? That's what people don't buy real estate. Now you're telling me I can buy $1 worth of real estate? Plus, I can buy $1 worth of real estate, and I can then sell it to somebody else whenever the hell they want to buy it from me. And we can make the token values fluctuate on public markets. And I don't have to talk to a single human to make it happen. Thank you so much. Done. Click. Here's the $1. Here's 10. Here's 10,000. Here's 100,000. And anybody, you don't even talk to these people. Your investors come from the globe, and they come and buy your real estate. And they trade the real estate, and they do all the stuff, right? So this system is so much better on every single level. The less humans you have to interact with to do some kind of work done, the better it is. Because humans are what corrupt the process, because humans have all their own intentions of how they want to take advantage of you. I love humans in like a relationship. Humans in business, please remove. If we could remove all the humans from business, it would be so great. And that's partially our goal. Partially our goal is to remove the corruption of the want for money in every single business operation. And I'm going to show you how we're doing it live today. So then we're taking all the real estate in Indonesia and all the real estate in Southeast Asia and all the real estate in the world, and we're putting it on the blockchain. Other than that, everything is going to be fine. You know? That's just real estate. Then we're doing it with mines. Today, live, we have copper, iron, gold, and nickel mines. Copper mines we have already. Iron mines are being bought right now. Nickel mines are going to go live in Indonesia sometime in 2023, 2024. And gold mines will come along the way. They're being offered already. But we're going to take those mines. We're already taking those mines, and we've tokenized them and broken them up into these little pieces. And we made sure the mines do not mine in any way that pollutes the earth. And they do not blow up mountains. They dig out what they need, and then they reforest the land. And then they provide coffee farms and whatever the local population needs to live a long, prosperous life. They process the stuff in a way so that it does not pollute the land. And then we break it up into little chunks, and then we get it to the people. I know, Sarah always finds this funny. What's up? Did you have a question? Oh, thank you. Look, he's watching the battery. I love you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, we got to get you a mic. Yeah.
So everyone's going to have to get on board with this, right?
No.
Like the tokenization of the land.
Did everybody have to get on board with Uber? Yeah, there's no getting
What
on
about
board,
the
my love.
governments, like bureaucracy. and
We're
all
working with the government.
that? Okay.
Yeah, we're,
Like, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So the government actually asked us, how should we do this? So we built regulatory proposals, and we just presented it to the government 6 days ago in Surabaya. They took it and they went, wow, this is insane. So you're telling me global liquidity will flow into Indonesia? We said yes, and here's the kicker. We won't even let them take the real estate and the mines of Indonesia. We figured out a way so the locals own the stuff, the money flows in, but it stays in Indonesia. They're like, they were like, can you then just write the regulations and give them to us? Because that would really help us a lot. We went, yes. So then you know what we're doing? We're building regulations that do not violate the sanctity of humanity, that have God written into the code itself.
But that's my next question too, is how are you providing the assurances or audit process for ensuring that the mines are operating environmentally? And because that's very difficult to do,
Yeah.
even with huge organizations working towards an effort like that.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a really good question. So we only work with processors who are pre-audited, and we will audit them ourselves. Not only will we audit them, we'll make content because we want to show people that this is being done. So we'll make content along the way. We'll make sure we go check ourselves. Plus, this idea of companies destroying the planet with mines is actually from the 90s. In the last 20 years, it has become unprofitable for companies to dump chemicals into the ocean. One, because these chemicals are very expensive. Like, we have systems to be able to recover these chemicals and reuse them, right? And secondly, they got such big fines and the brand value got destroyed so much that even the biggest companies have started to not do this. But the way they mine is they have to blow up a whole mountain. And inside of that mountain is like 2, 3, 6% of the stuff that you need. And the rest of it's a bunch of other stuff and uranium and a bunch of crap that you don't need. And they can't, the only way they can deal with the whole mountain is they just dump it. They put it into tailing ponds, and the tailing ponds seep down into the water table and then eventually into the ocean, right? The way we're doing it is boutique mining. We're not blowing up a mountain. We have technology that digs out the vein itself. So what we dig out is the 6% that we need, and the locals have done this for a very long period of time, since ancient times. That's how they were digging. They weren't blowing up mountains. So then, once we dig it out, then we reforest the land, and nature protects all of the sediment.
You're moving more towards artisanal mines, like family-owned artisanal practices.
Yeah, and that's how the mine stays owned by the family, right? And we just bring the money in, but we don't take the mine itself, ideally. And also the miner then gets to invest in the mine, right? It doesn't go to a stock exchange where only, rich people, us, get to invest in it. I mean, I'm not very rich, I'm just wealthy. And that's a key difference. Wealth is not money. Money is the poorest form of wealth. Wealth is good food with good people in good places, having good conversations, right? So that's mining. So not only are we tokenizing the mines, we're changing the way mining is being done. And actually, it's no longer profitable. For those big firms, they've already found all the copper mountains, and they've blown them up. What we dig out is what they leave behind, because their machines, it's not profitable for them to dig down these veins, the returns are not there. But the copper prices went up, so now it's feasible for us to do it. So we're not fighting with them. We're actually just going in after them, and we're getting this.
So yeah, back to digitizing or tokenizing land.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's being done in Indonesia, but what about other countries?
Everywhere. We're doing it everywhere.
Really?
We're doing Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia right now, and then we're going to do it everywhere.
Because so we had like I'm the guy who showed up and someone took my land
Yes.
in West Africa in Liberia, and but like I couldn't take it back because it was the Chinese embassy that had bought so from someone
Yeah.
who stole my land,
Yeah.
right, or stole my family's land.
Yeah.
So but anyway, yeah. So yeah, and in America as well, in the States, like I mean, how would that work?
It's the same. It's just you take the land, put it in a company, tokenize it. What you need is a tight regulatory framework. What you need are people with guns,
Right. Okay.
right? And the people with guns make sure somebody doesn't take your land. And you need to work with the people with guns. And now those guns differ in each country. In some places they're cartels. In some places they're villages. In some places they're militias. In some places they're governments. In some places they're private corporations. Right? So we're not going to go to West Africa and tokenize land. Like, we're not even going to land in West Africa. Right? You do not land there because now you have a risk to your life. What's going to happen is those countries are going to see the rest of the world leave, the prosperity train leaving and money not coming in. So the way we incentivize people is with money, right? Because they just want money. So we go, hey, how about we show you that you can make more money by not stealing people's land? And you know who we show that to? The people running the country. You go, hey, if you protect his land, we will flood this country with money. We will flood it. We'll drown your country in money. And the amount of money that's waiting in the West, because the West is dying. The West is dead. Please watch my Cycles of History talk. It defines exactly the cyclicality of history and how those societies are at their end and these societies are at their beginning. West Africa is where the wealth is going to be actually generated because growth is wealth in this twisted system. Growth is wealth in any system, right? So our goal is to show them, hey, look at your neighboring country. Look at South Africa. Okay? South Africa is doing this right now. They're getting rich. They're already rich, but they're getting rich because the regulators are protecting land rights, and that allows us to come in and trust this process and bring the money into the country. And then the conversation changes, right? So that's kind of the process. And that's been the conversation here, where they said we want to attract foreign direct investment, FDI, right? So we said, okay, here's what you do. I'll show you how to bring stupid amounts of money from the West. Like we got friends waiting with cash in hand to access Indonesia. They need a regulatory framework. They need sandbox regulatory protection. They need this regulation to be like this regulation to be like this, and then they need frameworks, auditing frameworks and other things to make this process happen. If you do that, more money will come to Indonesia, like trillions of dollars will come to Indonesia rather than trillions of rupiah, right? And then the conversation completely changes, and now we have protection for the people. We have civility and justice coded into these new frameworks, you know? And at the same time, it's like punish the people who are doing bad stuff, right? We have that built into the frameworks too, like punish the people who are doing bad stuff. And who do you punish? Somebody makes a DAO, and the DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, and it takes advantage of people. Who gets punished? The people who made it. So now it's your job to make something that doesn't take advantage of people, you know, something like that. This is how we're building it into the framework of society. We're building fairness into the framework of society, because these technologies have fairness built in, right? So then we want, okay, real estate, nice. Mines, great, as long as you do it the way that we want. You don't pollute the earth. And it's incentivized because green mining is now being incentivized by the global structures, and you know, black mining is no longer supported by the investors. Therefore, they're changing the ways that they're doing it. But then we went, we're going to tokenize farming. So we're tokenizing farm productivity, because what people don't understand is farmers, especially here, but across the world, when it's not the harvest season, they need money today. And if they get money today, they can grow more stuff and they can feed their families. So what we said is, one of our friends, he's in one of the projects that we're incubating, it's called 5 Harvesto. So he turns land productivity into an NFT. just the land productivity, not the land itself. You never own the land itself. The land productivity gets turned into an NFT. We sell the NFT. The cash from that NFT goes to the farmer. No interest, so there's no debt. We're not making them slaves. The farmer gets to use the cash today to run their operations, scale, and actually feed their family. The farmer promises 70% of the land productivity of this next cycle to the investor and 30% to themselves. Then we decided, wait, why don't we tokenize commodity supply chains? Because these farmers are growing commodities, right? So then it's another project we have called FarmScent, where it's tokenizing commodity supply chains and shipping these commodities to the Middle East, where the price arbitrage is crazy. Like what sells here for $1 sells there for 20. So we basically take it, put farm productivity onto the blockchain, easily traceable and auditable. That commodity supply that comes out, we ship it to Saudi, Bahrain, and Dubai, and they are super happy to get food security because they don't want their people to go hungry. They pay too much money for these things. We'll take up to 5 times the money and put it in the farmer's pocket. So now the farmer, instead of getting 30%, gets 150% of what they would have normally made. And the investor gets 350%. And they're just like, take all of my money and do this, give it to farmers. So now we figured out a way how to get rich people to give their money to farmers and how the farmer can make time and a half the money. And the farmers are shocked. They're shocked. They're like, are you sure this is the price you want to pay for this commodity? We go, yeah, it's 5 times the price. So they love it. And the farmers are incentivized to grow more food and do what they do in a better way, and everybody's happy along the way. And now what happened? Money flowed from the West and from those structures into Indonesian farmers' pockets and fed kids. Now here's another kicker on top, just a side note. When you take farm productivity and you turn it into food, there's a bunch of biomass left over, a bunch of organic waste that's left over. We're taking that organic waste, we're going to be taking that organic waste, and we're going to turn it into biochar in compliance with global carbon credit standards. And carbon credits are a new form of money that's been created by the World Economic Forum and the powers that be for sequestering carbon from the air. And if we turn it into biochar, biochar is actually fertilizer. So we take the waste, we take dead leaves and hay, instead of burning it and then pumping smoke into the air, we turn it into fertilizer and we give it back to the farmers.
Would carbon credits now be a new asset class too?
Technically, yes. Yeah. The question was, would carbon credits be a new asset class? They're not calling it that, but we can think about it like that. Yeah. It's technically a new form of money, actually. It's a new form of currency, which is equivalent to dollars in some capacity, and the dollar value fluctuates. So, because you can't invest in carbon credits, they don't go up in value, so they're not technically an asset class. But now what we did, we reduced organic waste, we turned it into fertilizer and gave it to the farmer so they don't have to use fertilizer so it doesn't destroy the water table and it doesn't destroy the soils. And then one of our friends came up with the idea. He was like, wait, if you burn something to create the heat, to create the biochar, and there's going to be smoke that's going to be let out, we can cool down that smoke and turn it into something called liquid smoke. Because actually, it's funny, I never thought about that. The smoke cools down to liquid and liquid smoke. And then if you take that liquid smoke and you dilute it 20-to-1 with water, it turns into a natural pesticide. So now we're getting rid of pesticides, fertilizer from dead leaves and turning it into money and putting it in the farmer's pocket. Welcome to the future. And this is happening as we speak. Like we've now delivered this, we're delivering this, we're building the carbon credit framework, we're bringing together global expertise, delivering it to regulators so that they can build a framework in Indonesia and we can make these things live. But 5 Harvest Stowe just had their first melon harvest and they made farmers shit tons of money. FarmScent is going to go live from November and the mines are live already, right? The other thing we're doing is we're tokenizing societies. So this is where, Felix, you'll love this. Here's how you build that world that we're all hallucinating, the new Earth, right? Everybody talks about the new Earth, but nobody builds it because they don't know how to build new Earths. What we decided is, if we have all these projects that are creating good in the world and creating money, we started an incubator, and we're incubating these projects inside of the incubator, and the incubator gets equity and tokens from these projects inside of the incubator, so it generates revenue, and it generates dividends through the tokens from real world value, from children being fed. And then we're putting that incubator inside of a society, and we're building co-living, co-working, co-healing spaces called Sumati Concept. And these are going to be physical locations where the smartest people, the most capable, value-adding people will come and live and build projects that align with our vision of how the world should be changed. And they will be given food, shelter, water, resources, support, money, developers, consulting, every single thing that they need to bring their vision to life, because their vision is exactly what we want to have built. And so the revenue and then those projects will be put inside of the incubator, so the incubator will generate more and more revenue. So now we have a way to make society free for those who add value. We can feed them for free. We can clothe them for free. We just take money away as a concept from their thought. While everybody else in the world begs for money and adds no value, the people who are building the world the way that we want, a good world, a more just world, one that feeds kids, they will be given everything. And they will never have to think about money again. And the thing is, along the way, they'll get insanely wealthy in their own pockets because they're improving the world and helping people. So and then what we do is we take that society, we tokenize that society. And then whoever owns the token of that society gets money paid to them from every single one of these projects. And once you take away the concept of money from the smartest and the most capable people's minds, the world they will create will blow your fucking mind. Because no longer are they doing shit for money. They're doing shit for passion and love and care and God or divinity or universe, whatever terminology you use. They'll be doing it from a place of understanding, I no longer have a want for money or need for money. I will do it because I want to create impact. I want to feed kids. And however I can figure that out, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna take a quick coffee break. Anybody have any questions? Can somebody ask a very long question, please? Like, very verbose and like take it for a while. Okay, so hopefully now you can understand a bit of why this new space is good. Yes, people are going to build prisons and they're going to block you and chain you. Yes. If you're one of the ones who doesn't do anything, get ready for your prison. Because you're sitting there asking for a prison. You're not going to be allowed into our societies because you don't add value to society. But if you add value to society, we'll take care of you. And we will give you freedom. We'll give you money. We'll give you resources. We'll give you everything that you need to make this process happen. Right? Now let's talk about legislation. Now, before I go there, if you're listening to this, especially if you're watching or if you're in this room, if you're listening to this, and you're somebody who's capable of building this world, in any way, you have skills that you can use to build this world, help. Not like help us, sure, come along if you want to join our journey, but just help by actually thinking like this. Actually thinking up new ways of how we can figure out a way to add value to everybody's lives, right? Trying to fight the rich people doesn't even make sense. You know why they're rich? Because they feed billions of kids. You feed billions of kids, I'll make you rich, personally. I'd be happy to do that. If you don't feed billions of kids and you hate rich people, you're the problem. Because you don't feed billions of kids, you don't even feed 2. So, what is it that you want from life? But if you do, if you're somebody who's capable of doing this, apply your knowledge and your powers on this. Because you're a manifestation of God. You're literally God. You're the universe quantum entangled with itself. You can single-handedly do whatever you want across the world. If you're technically capable, you're literally the gods of today. You literally create black magic in this world today. That's why I see faces in this room who are capable of it. So let's go. Let's go, get crazy. Think about how we can feed more kids. Simple as that. Ludi, feed more kids, bro. I know you're already feeding a ton of kids. Let's go feed more kids. That's harmony right there. That's harmony, you know? So it's up to us to build the world the way that we want. Because the old world was built by these same hands attached to different bodies, God's hands attached to different bodies. Now it's up to us to clickety-clack and build this new world the way that we want. Because if we don't, somebody else has powers to do this as well, and they're going to build the world that they want. So everything that we've gone through up until now, for those who understand what's going on and do something about it, you will never be imprisoned. You will never be imprisoned. Because you know how to interact with this new world in a way that you will maintain your freedom. Because if you just stay ahead of all this stuff, like some of the stuff we've talked about, it has a 10, 15-year timeline for it to come to fruition fully. Some of the stuff we're talking about that I just explained, we've been doing it for the last 2 years. We've been doing it for the last 10 years for many of these things. But as long as you're somebody who interacts with this world and learns about it and does something about it, you will never be in a prison. Because you will always have the freedom to shift the world the way that you want. If you're somebody who wants freedom but doesn't want to do anything to learn how to create this world, sorry. And I'm not saying, I know if you're watching this and if you're on Zoom, it's really high likelihood that you're a baby boomer, right? Because most of our people that I work with are baby boomers. I'm not telling you to go learn coding, okay? If you could go learn coding, that's great, that's nice. What I'm saying is, in this society, we're going to need elders. We're going to need grandmas and grandpas to sit alongside the visionaries to make decisions. That's a great value add, We need wisdom to drive society. I feel like that you could help because you have wisdom. If you're a baby boomer, you have too much money and it's sitting in the banks, and the banks are going to take it pretty soon, which I'm going to describe. Deploy it. Do something else with it. Instead of just buying Amazon stocks and hoping that you make 6% returns on it per year, enter this space. Hopefully now this is described to you how this is different from your XYZ shitcoin who doesn't do anything to people's lives. I've just shown you 1,000 ways that we feed kids. So feed kids, come along. You don't even have to feed the kid. We'll feed the kids. Support us in whatever capacity that you can. Or just spread the word. The easiest way, it's free for anybody to do. Just spread the word and explain, hey, this is the world that's being created. And this is how this is the way that this is all transitioning, and explain to people the value of it so that people can start to understand these things. And you inception the idea of feeding kids through these new systems into people's heads. So the smart people start to think like that. They start to actually, they're no longer thinking digital asset, make money, scammers, scam. Right? You go from scam to food, to people, to improving kids' lives. In parallel to this, so I'm like, okay, well, I don't just want to feed the kids. I want the kids to be superheroes. I want the kids to be gods. So we're partnered with the Indonesian government, the Jakartan government, and the city of Denpasar, and we're building talent development pipelines and bringing knowledge around all of this stuff, developing digital talent pipelines, startup talent development pipelines, blockchain talent development pipelines, Web3, Metaverse, XR, putting kids and students and whoever wants to sign up, old people, whoever you are, we'll give it to you for free. You go through this training program, and at the end of it, you become one of the premier experts in this space in the world, because there are no premier experts. We upscale, we up-level the knowledge base of the local population and the local talent. Then these incubators are places where we bring in the best talent from across the world, because we're attracting them to come live in Bali and giving them every single thing that they need. So they absolutely have no reason ever to say no to come live in Bali for the rest of their life for free, and putting these university students right next to them for 6 months so they can learn how to play the game, and they're all already fully trained. And now within a year and a half to 2 years, the Indonesian population becomes one of the highest quality talent pools in the world of developing all this stuff. And then guess where they're going to want to come? The rest of the world. Guess who they're going to ask to build this world? Indonesia. It's being done live today. Support that. Do something about it. skip your smoothie bowls. Please skip a smoothie bowl or two. I'm not even saying skip the smoothie bowls. Like your smoothie bowls, just do something. Just do anything about it. All right, legislation. The laws that we're used to are gone. The law said, you can't forcefully inject me with something I don't want in my body. The law said, you can't take me and put me in a prison because I have a sniffle. The law also says, if you inject a genetic modification into your body, you become property of the corporation who owns the genetic modification. That's international law. It also says, if you voluntarily take a genetic modification, you lose your human rights and you are classified as a transhuman. So the human rights charters don't apply to you. That's the law. Nobody reads the law. I've read them. The law also says that you have freedom of self. In almost all the countries, the law is built to give you freedom of self. And if you've gone through the last little while, maybe you've noticed you don't have freedom of self. You don't have choice. You don't get to choose what gets put inside your body. What happened? You know what happened? We sat complacent. We sat complacent. They said, do this. We said, no. They said, yeah, well, here's a reason why you have to do it. And we just went, no, okay, fuck it. Let's do it. The law says, if you actually go back and find the paper you signed with the bank, if you read that paper thoroughly, that paper says, you do not own your money. Do you agree that any money you give us is our money, not your money? The legal classification of what happens when you put money in the bank or send money to a bank is that you are becoming an unsecured lender to a bank. Unsecured lender in that you gave cash and you did not secure it with any kind of anything behind it. It is also law in G20 countries. So in 2008, the banks went down and we did bailouts, right? The governments printed money and gave it to the banks. And we did Occupy Wall Street. We said, how dare you print money and give it to the banks? I wanted to get special treatment. You're taking our money and giving it to the banks. And they went, you're right. We're so sorry. We'll change it. Can you go home? We went, yeah, we'll go home. You better change that shit. We all went home, went back. I changed the world. I'm gonna have my smoothie bowl, right? And then they were like, great, they're eating smoothies. Okay, so here's the new law. The new law is we will not do bank bailouts. What we will do is something called bank bail-ins. Because we got to get the money from somewhere. Our investors are not going to, we're not going to let our investors go to waste. So the new law is we're going to do bank bail-ins. And I'm going to do a talk about it again. There's an old talk that we did about this. And the bank bail-in law says when the bank goes insolvent, which means the bank has made stupid investments, which every single bank has done, into stupid financial products that don't feed kids, that only make the rich richer. When the bank makes stupid investments, and the bank goes insolvent, which means it goes bankrupt because it does not have enough money to cover the bets that it's made. The first person's money they're going to take are the unsecured lenders. It's in the law. And again, go back to the talk. I tell you exactly which laws it's written in, exactly in which jurisdiction. If you ask your banker, they'll never know about this, but it's law. And you sign paperwork that says, because this is our money, you're an unsecured lender, okay? Which means the next time the banks go bankrupt, which I mean, China has already gone bankrupt. Chinese people can't get their money out of banks. Sri Lankans can't get their money out of banks. Venezuelans are making bags with cash. Argentina, gone. El Salvador, gone. Ecuador, gone. Iran, Syria, they were gone. Lebanon literally blew up a whole building and gone. Russia. Come on. Russia? Dude, You literally jacked the Russians and you took all their yachts and all their real estate and all their everything. Canadians, I'm from Canada. Canadians went to a protest, legal official protest, to protest peacefully. And the government went, let's facially scan all of them. Scanned all of them, found their accounts, made a law that retroactively applies that anybody who goes to this protest loses all of their money. Went into their bank accounts and their crypto accounts and took all of their money and froze all their bank accounts. Funny thing is, when you were asking these truck drivers and stuff like, hey, they're going to take all the money from the bank, they went, take it. I don't have anything in the first place. That's why I'm here. But Canadians had this done to them. Cyprus, Greece. Look at what happened to Cyprus and Greece. They've already done bank bail-ins in Cyprus and Greece. I know people who lost millions of their money that was sitting in Cyprus, which was supposed to be the safe haven place to keep money. They lost millions of dollars because one day the bank went, sorry, we made some stupid mistakes. We need money, and our investors need to be made whole. So what the bank bail-in process is where they take your money. First of all, the bank, and this will happen, 100% this will happen, probably in the middle of 2024. Between 2024 to November of 2025, this will happen. The banks will take a holiday. And when they take a holiday, what they're doing is they're stealing all the money from your bank account. Because, we don't have the money, they have the bank accounts. They will go in and they will take money from the bank account, and we will riot. And they'll go, hold on, we need to negotiate. We need to negotiate. And we will go to the FDIC and all the insurers that we have who we think are securing our money. And we'll go, hey, they just took all my money. I had less than $250,000. Give me my money. And you know what they're going to say? They're going to go, sorry to report. First of all, there's $11 trillion or something of bank deposit that we need to insure. And we only have $80 billion. So we don't even have the money to give you in the first place. But actually, here's the kicker. We're the negotiators. We're the ones who are going to negotiate the bank stealing your money. So not only are we not going to give you the money, you're going to sit down and you're going to listen to us, because if you don't listen to us, we're not even giving you any of your money back. And this is law. Go back and watch the bank bail-in talk and do your own research and figure all this stuff out. What they did in Cyprus and Greece is they took the money from the bank accounts. And legally speaking, technically speaking, you can't just take money from the bank accounts, you have to return something. So what they did is they took worthless bank stock and swapped out your money for bank stock to a bankrupt bank. This happened in 2013 in Cyprus. This happened in 20-something in Greece. They just did it to the Russians. I mean, Russian oligarchs lost all their money, and they literally can't move money out of anywhere. The Russians that were here, they couldn't move their money in crypto. They couldn't sign up for exchanges. They became poor overnight. And we're sitting there. Damn, this is a good smoothie bowl. While the world around us is collapsing. And we're like, it's not going to happen to me. I'm American. I'm European. I'm whatever. Good luck. It's coming to all your doors. It's a beta test. It just happened to the Chinese. China and Russia just did this. Do you need any more proof that this is coming to your doors? The reason why I'm telling you all this stuff is so hopefully you get scared shitless. So you get scared shitless. You go, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I did not know any of this. And you go home and you go, what talk was he talking about? And then you message him like, send me the fucking talk. And then you listen to the talk and you go, I'm gonna disprove all this stuff. And then you go in and you do your own research and you read these documents and then your face goes pale and then you realize, shit, I gotta do something about this. I gotta figure this out, okay? And if you're like, what should I do? Go back and watch our wealth protection talk and go back and watch our how to protect yourself from bank bail-ins talk. We've done 1,000 talks explaining all this stuff. I'm not gonna redo most of these talks because we're now at the stage of educating local talent and I'm not gonna keep repeating these things. But please, educate yourself. I've spent my lifetime digging through all of this stuff to get it to the point that we know. So that's law. Who asked for legislation? That's law. That's law. So the new legislation that's coming. When this happens, people are going to riot. That's why I have the farm so far away from cities. You want to be in the middle of nowhere for 2 years at least to get away from the chaos that's coming. People are going to riot and pick up sticks and guns and murder each other. In that process, they're going to create the solution. The solution already exists, but they're going to create the solution. Problem, reaction, solution, right? Once we react, the solution is going to be, first of all, we're going to create regulation so digital assets become completely clear in their classification. Are they a security? Are they a commodity? In Indonesia, they're going to be a commodity. In other places, there's going to be a blend of securities and commodities. Then we're going to set clear frameworks around who can own them, because there's a whole, that goes down a whole different rabbit hole. Who can own them, how to purchase them, and how to custody them. We will not be allowed to custody them inside of wallets. It's not that we won't be allowed to custody them inside wallets. We will be allowed to custody them inside wallets, but we will be, there's a rule called the travel rule. This is one of these rules that they're going to apply, but the most specific one in the Financial Action Task Force regulatory recommendations is called the travel rule. And what the travel rule says is anybody who transfers any modality of value to another person other than cash needs to provide the KYC information of the recipient, right? Which simply means we will not have the functionality to do that. We just can't afford it. Which means we need somebody to do it, which is exchanges and banks and institutions. They're the only ones with that, with the technical capability to make sure that all already happens. That's what banks already do. So the law is going to say you are not allowed to store these digital assets. I mean, you can store them, but if you violate the travel rule in your transfer, and then you can transfer it, you can do whatever you want. You can send it to whoever you want. But if we find out that you violated the travel rule and then you try to bring it to an exchange and try to turn it into cash and turn it into milk for your children, we will put you in prison. That's the system that's being built. We saw it 2.5 years ago when these recommendations came out. Now it's being implemented globally. These are the conversations being had throughout all of these quarters. That's just one of the rules that they're going to implement, right? On the good side, there's going to be regulation that clarifies how tokenization is done, clarifies these regulatory protections that people will get to make sure that there's actually punishment for doing bad things. There will be regulatory frameworks or regulatory sandboxes that will allow people to be able to create projects inside of them as long as they're certified by the government and they're not scam projects to get the support of the government. At least that's what we're doing in Indonesia. There will be good regulatory clarity as well, but most of it will create this new system. On the financial side, the regulations that are coming are going to say, you give up all of your privacy, all of your autonomy, all of everything, and hit I agree, and then we'll do something magical. Then we'll put money in your bank account for free. And we'll call it central bank digital currencies. We're going to make cash disappear, and we're going to turn cash into something called CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. And as long as you comply, because now you don't have any money, right? We took all your money from the bank. As long as you comply, we will put money free into your bank account. And you know what most people are going to do? They're going to just, thank you so much. I don't want to add value to the world. Put the free money into my bank account so you can eat. But that money is going to be programmed. It's going to be programmed so that it expires. And you can't spend it on assets. You can't invest it. You can't get rich from it. You can't accrue it. It will expire. And they will choose what you eat. They won't let you buy a steak because it's not your money. They'll make sure that you buy something else because you won't have the wealth to actually make the process happen. And if any of this sounds like crazy, read about it, my loves. Do your own research. Or don't. Sit back and watch the magic happen. By 2025, you will realize all this stuff's going to happen. And then you won't find me because I'll be in the mountains living like a forest man without a shirt on, not showering for 3 weeks. So it's going to be really hard to find me. But you will find this content. And then you'll wish you did something about it. So that's one of the regulations that's coming, CBDC regulations. The good side of all of that, okay, let me just keep going through the bad shit first. At the same time, global currencies are fracturing. They're going to fracture all the global currency pairs. Right now, the ruble and dollar pair has been fractured. By fractured, I mean they do not trade anymore. The yuan and dollar pair is going to fracture. The Middle East is already creating their own currency, so they can fracture away from the dollar. The euro is about to fracture because the European energy crisis is insane. So people are going to start to die from the cold. At that point, they're going to beg to make sure that they buy energy from Russia, at which point they have to get rid of the relationship that they have with the US and actually start buying energy from Russia in the euro. In which Russia, Putin just said, he's like, why would we even sell our energy for dollars and euros? These things are worthless. We have gold, we have oil. You know, us in Asia have everything that you want. Why would we want your worthless currencies? They're fracturing all of these currencies live today. Venezuelan currency gone, blah, 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 blah. Look at the laundry list of currencies that are already dead, okay? When you fracture all of these currencies, then what you require in order for global trade to happen, and first of all, when you fracture all these currencies, wars happen and people die. When you then digitize all of these existing currencies, now nobody's going to want to use the US dollar. Why would China use the US dollar for global trade? Because then US gets all the financial data of China and can control China. That doesn't make sense. They're not going to do that. And they've already said they're not going to do that. Nobody's going to use the digital yuan to do their trades. Because again, even if Indonesia uses the digital yuan to do trading, China gets all the financial data of Indonesia, which means they can control Indonesia. They can manipulate Indonesia. So what's going to happen then is there's one crypto that is custom built to sit in the middle of all these as a neutral bridge reserve currency. It's called XRP. It's going to sit in between. It is supranational. It does not belong to any country. It is going to be used as the bridge. So when US wants to buy something from China, what they will do is they'll actually convert their US dollars into this central bridge reserve currency, and the bridge currency will be converted into the yuan, and the yuan will pay for the thing, and then the stuff will be shipped over. So global trade will still happen, but it'll happen in this new way. But what that also allows them to do is it allows them to control the movement of all the value in crypto and outside of crypto, and in the global commerce space. How are they going to control crypto? I thought, but crypto. We could just send crypto to anybody. I could just send Bitcoin to whoever I want. I could send privacy coins. That's a question that always comes up. They're not going to control the transfer of the crypto itself. They're going to control the point when you turn it into milk. Because you won't be able to use crypto to buy the milk. You'll still need to buy Indonesian rupiah or US dollar to buy the milk. And when you bring value from wherever you brought it, tracked on the blockchain, publicly available and scannable by an AI, so the AI can tell where the value came from through KYC accounts. By the time it comes to the point of generating milk for your child, they're going to go, well, that's illegal. That's illegal. You use this XYZ shitcoin to make this money. That's illegal. You use this privacy coin called Monero. That's illegal. As a matter of fact, not even illegal. Come with us. How dare you try to use a privacy coin to generate money? That's money laundering. Show us how it's not money laundering. You can't, right? Because it's a privacy coin. Good, come with us. Prison for you. And so what they're going to control is the pinch points, the exchange points, which is the exchanges, and eventually it's going to be banks. They're going to make sure that because they'll be liable if they allow any of this stuff to happen. Therefore, they will report back to the regulators, and the regulators will find the people who do not play the game and make them play the game. So that's the legislation and regulation of how the crypto space is going to be controlled. Always.
But who's regulating Ripple?
Who's regulating Ripple? This is a great question. Ripple or XRP? Yeah, because those are two separate things. Ripple is a company. Who's regulating Ripple is the SEC in the US and other regulators in other places. Who's regulating XRP? Nobody.
They've already doubled or tripled the supply from when it first came out. What's stopping them from...
They haven't doubled or tripled the supply. They told you when they created the system that there's going to be 1 billion XRP released per month, right? They told us that when they launched the system, when they made it public and they gave it to everybody. right? XRP is now a public good, the same way the internet is a public good. It does not belong to any country. It does not belong to any organization. There are organizations that support it, and like ICANN supports HTTP, but nobody owns it, right? XRP is now in that state. It's in a public good state where Ripple is the custodian that's custodying the extra XRP, but does not get the decision-making rights of XRP. The XRP token holders are the ones who get the rights to what XRP does. That's a public good, and it's been written into the code from the beginning that 1 billion will be released per month until the entire 100 billion supply is out, or if the token holders decide to do something different, right? And maybe the token holders all vote to say, let's burn the rest of the XRP. And then Ripple has to burn all the rest of the XRP because we do it through code. They can't violate that code. But you know what the token holders are not going to do? Anything, because they're having smoothie bowls. Right? Because what did Ripple do? Made them money, right? What did they do? Smoothie bowls. They never read the code. They never read the document. They never read the white paper. They never read anything. They're complacent. When societies get rich, they become complacent. And when societies become complacent, tyranny comes and takes everything from them. That's why this is happening in the first place. Complacency. So we deserve everything that's coming to us because we're complacent and we choose not to do anything, and we choose to wake up every single morning and not move towards the world that we want to build. So yes, XRP will run this system. To answer your question, and I know the question that you're asking, who runs the shit? Who runs this shit? Okay, America's not running it. China's not running it. Russia, I mean, LOL. Who's running it? Who's left? So if you go back and watch my how the Changing World Order talk, which I'm pretty sure you've seen, the talk that I did over Ray Dalio's Changing World Order talk, I explained in clear terms how the next world order is the one world government. One world government, supranational entities, 3-letter organizations. You know, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, International Monetary Fund, Bank of International Settlements, World Bank. That one's not 2 letters. That's actually 3 letters. That's only 2 letters, right? So sorry, they messed up on that one. They should have called it World Bank International, you know? But they're the ones who are running the game. So in simple terms, do you know who owns the world now? Money. Money owns the world now. Who owns all the politicians? Who funds all the politicians? Who controls which politician goes where? Money. No. So, does that answer your question? Okay, here's a legislation. Here's one of the pivotal, it's not even legislation, it's actually just a shifting of the messaging code of the financial system. It's called ISO 20022. So I'm going to do a completely separate talk about this because a lot of people are asking questions around it. I did an old talk around it. We'll update it and we'll explain to you the exact fine details of how this new system is going to work. But when you look at the way that money moves across the world, the way that money moves is through coding languages. That's Swift. Swift is one of them. There's also Keras, which is the one that we use in Southeast Asia. There's a bunch of them, but they follow messaging standards, ISO messaging standards. The previous one, the one that's live right now, I don't even remember the name of it, but it's ISO something, something, something. What that messaging language says and does is it defines the data that has to be provided to which parties for that transaction to actually happen, right? So when you want to send money, you ask the bank, can you send this money? What they actually do is they take the money transfer. They actually don't even move money. Like, it's a misconception that we think we send money and they move money. They don't move money. What they do is they have pools of money sitting around in every single country. So in every single country, they have currency pair pools. They're called nostro vostro accounts. It means my account, mine and yours accounts. And let's say you have OCBC and you want to send money to Bank of America on the other side, right? You're sending $100,000. What actually happens is you make a request to OCBC to send money. And first of all, they go, whose money? You go, can you please send some of your money, Mr. Overlord? Which looks like it's my money that's on the bank account. They go, okay, we give you permission to move our money. And they send a request to the other side of the world, to their banking partner. And they say, and this request is coded with all of the information necessary. It says this person is sending it, this person is receiving it, here's their information, here's their bank accounts, here's all of their regulatory information to make sure that we're following the travel rule and it's compliant. This is how much money we need to move. Then what happens is that message reaches the other side of the ocean, and it reaches their correspondent bank partner who's holding these Nostro Vostro accounts on the other side. That banking partner receives the message and goes, this is now verified that you've sent this message, and we accept these details that you've sent. And we accept that there's enough of your money sitting here in whichever currency we need. So IDR here and USD there, right? So then they have, so what OCBC has is a correspondent bank on that side that's holding hundreds of billions of dollars of US dollars in an account, and they go verify, yes, there's this much money, there's $100,000 in your bank account. We will send this $100,000 through the ACH network to Bank of America. So let's say JP Morgan Chase is actually the correspondent for OCBC. So message coded in a specific language, ISO compliant, went out. They will then take money that's OCBC's money and transfer it, and that's how the IDR gets to the bank account at the end. Now everybody took fees along the way. The bank, OCBC, took fees, SWIFT took fees just for making this message happen. The bank on the other side, JP Morgan, took fees, and then Bank of America took fees. That's why it costs $50 to move that money, right? But in this whole process, you still have a thin veil of autonomy and ownership because the money technically is still owed to you that's in the bank account, right? After the bank bail-in process, the money in the bank will not belong to you. It will belong to the bank. It won't be an unsecured loan. It will just belong to the bank. And as long as you have the right social, I'll go into the social credit scores at the end. Like for now, let's just imagine, so what the ISO system is going to do, the ISO system is going to go live between middle of 2024 to November of 2025 latest. After November of 2025, any financial institutions that have not adopted the system will no longer be allowed to function in the monetary system of the world. And the ones who decide that are the overlords, the one world government. That standard, the messaging standard, the language, the code that runs that messaging standard is changing. It's changing, and by November, you okay? We can't have you die, bro. You're really important. Please don't die.
Just transforming into the best.
Try this vape, it'll help. The messaging standard is changing. The messaging standard is going to a messaging standard called ISO 20022. It's been in construction since 2004. Ripple is one of the few known ISO compliant monetary systems. There's only about 3 or 4 that we know of. I think there's 3 that we know of, and there's another 3 or 4 that are supposed to be compliant that apparently they haven't told us yet. But the code is compliant. What this standard says, I mean, it's complicated, but in the manifestation of what this code says, the code says, when you send money into this other place, the first check that will happen is your social credit score. Your social credit score will be checked. And if you don't know about social credit scores, please watch what happened in China over the last 10 years. A social credit score is a score that's given to you on how compliant you are with the world. How compliant you are with what they want you to do. If you're compliant, then you get a good score. If you're not compliant, then you don't get plane tickets, and you don't get plane tickets, and you don't get food. That's the simple gist of it. First thing it does is it checks your social credit score, just to verify, are you even allowed to do this? If you pass that check, then it drafts a message with way more information in there, way more information. It has your name, your birth date, your vaccination classification, how many you've had, how many things you've done that are good, how many things you've done that are bad. That's all part of the social credit score system. What social credit score you have, which country you're a citizen of, which country you're a tax resident of, who are you supposed to pay taxes to, and so much other information. Blood type. I'm just kidding. Like, they could code blood type in there, but they probably won't. And then the message gets drafted And then when the message gets sent, it doesn't just get sent to the other correspondent. First of all, there is no correspondent bank in the system because this system comes with this on-demand liquidity, which is the patent that Ripple holds. So no longer do you need trillions of dollars sitting in these Nostro Vostro accounts going to waste because liquidity doesn't like to sit around. It's water, it goes stale. The message gets relayed directly to the bank that you need to send it to. But it doesn't just get relayed to the bank. It gets relayed to every single regulator who you're beholden to. If you're an American citizen, the message goes to the IRS and to the Monetary Authority of the US, and it goes to Bapeti in Indonesia, and it goes to the Ministry of Finance in Indonesia. And then it goes to the central bank of that country, the central bank of this country, and it goes to the bank. And anybody else. If there's institutions that need to know this data, it gets relayed to all of them. And then the regulator is going to be like, but you owe me 30% tax on this transaction. And they go, okay. So then when that value moves, 30% automatically goes to the regulator. And whatever percent automatically goes to the other one. And then within 3 seconds, the value arrives on the other side of the ocean in the bank account where you needed it. So the fluidity of liquidity goes up, the volume of money, but freedom goes to zero. Autonomy goes to zero. If you think you can avoid paying taxes, good luck. Limited time offer. No longer will it be voluntary. It will be built in. And then the governments are also going to release regulations where no matter which country you're in, living, they're going to do the same thing Americans do, where it doesn't matter which country you're living in, you still pay taxes to the country who you're a citizen of, because you're using their system to operate. Because when locality, anyways. So there you go. That's the banking system that is already live in Europe that we don't even realize. They just haven't activated many of these legs of auto taxation and social credit scores and all that kind of stuff. What you need for social credit scores is the beginning is a QR code. You need to have a QR code. That's why it's been such a concerted effort to get all of us QR codes. You know, like to the point where they're like, we're not going to let you eat or move or work or travel or fly or hug grandma or go to the beach or walk until you get this QR code, okay? Just a side note, Microsoft has a patent, and the patent number is 2020606060. 2020-666, okay? Look it up yourself. At this point, they're just playing jokes on us, okay? And this patent is for a blockchain technology that says human physical movement will be rewarded in crypto. If the human moves in a predetermined manner, then they will be paid. If the human does not move their body in the physical and digital space according to preset metrics, they will not be paid. That's how deep this is going to go eventually. Every single thing people do, and these are people who did not choose to add value and gain their own freedom ahead of time while the doors were open. Those people, they will have absolutely no freedom, because in order for you to get that free money put into your bank account, you will have to make sure you moved your body the way that you're told to move. Even to me, I'm like, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. That's bananas. That's utterly bananas. And then I read the patent. Farm, right? DeFi. DeFi is hilarious. People think DeFi is going to be something that's going to give us freedom. No, sorry. The central financial world that controls the entire world, where they can wipe out whole countries to make things happen, are not going to let us take control of the financial world of the future. I mean, you saw what happened to DeFi. How are the Luna holders liking DeFi? You enjoying DeFi? How are the Celsius holders liking DeFi? How are all the DeFi systems? How are people liking DeFi? they're going to take DeFi from us, and they're gonna move all of the money from CeFi to DeFi. 85% of the value that transfers today is projected to move on the blockchain by 2030. But we're not going to be the ones who are going to be controlling that, obviously. We're not going to be given $1.6 quadrillion of today's nominal value, and whatever it's going to be in once they inflate the currencies, we'll be allowed to move. So like, stop thinking about DeFi as it was. It was just invented yesterday by us. By us. It was actually invented by them and given to us. But DeFi is not going to, the regulatory red tape that's going to be put around DeFi is going to be thicker than our Bible, right? So it's not going to be, there's no way that they're going to allow that to happen. So if you're thinking about that, please be careful. And then the final one I want to touch on is the digital ID piece, because all of these things we're talking about, they can't happen without digital identification. And digital ID is on the table for every single country across the world unanimously because in this world, in this completely digital world, they will need to identify who you are in order to give you access selectively to things that you're supposed to access and keep you from accessing things which you're not supposed to access. And once you have the digital ID and you hit I agree on the digital ID, which every single person will, especially the people who think they can resist, they're going to be one of the first ones to hit it because they're not going to have any exits and they're going to want that money in their bank account or they're going to die of starvation. When the digital ID goes live, that's the final nail in the coffin for them to completely shut down this old world and rebuild it into this new world. And if the last 2 years, now I'm gonna go on a rant, because I always do a rant, 10-minute rant at the end, right? If the last 2 years have not woken you up, if the last 2 years have not proven to you this shit's happening, if the Russians getting Russian and the Canadians getting Canadian, then Sri Lanka as a country collapsing right in front of our eyes in 3 months, and the destruction of whole societies, and Cyprus, and Greece, and if that hasn't, if them shutting down your business, locking you in a house, telling you you can't go outside, telling you you can't hug grandma, if that still hasn't woken you up, we have no conversation to be had. That's why these conversations are coming to an end. Like, I'm going to transition now to teaching people how to build these systems, because the last 2 years has been this me ringing the bells, hey, this is going to happen, hey, this is going to happen, and people going, that sounds nuts. And then a year later, they go, holy shit, the Russians just got Russianed, like you were saying they're going to get Russian. I'm like, yeah, they're telling you they're going to Russian them. Like, you can read their documents. It's just nobody reads documents now because, Netflix and chill, right? So if the last 2 years have not proven to you that this is going to happen, please go disprove everything that I'm saying. Do not just believe what I'm saying. The most idiotic thing you can do is just listen to one guy talking somewhere on the internet and just believe everything that they say. Do your own due diligence. Try to disprove anything that I'm saying. If you find data that disproves what I'm saying, personally share it to me. I will add it to my research base. We have research teams that are doing this. I'll hand it to them. They'll vet it. And then if your data is better than our data, I will happily change my mind on any of this stuff happening. But I've spent 20 years learning about these things since I was a child. And I was like, just my reality in Canada would not let me accept that this was going to happen. My reality was like, no, man, like, okay, we'll keep it in mind, but I don't think it's going to happen that way. And then the reality of 2020 and the past 2 years have nailed it on the head. I never expected people to give up this quickly and this easily, but we did. So if the last 2 years haven't woken you up to any of this stuff, I'm not here to convince you of anything. Hopefully this has added some value to you. Hopefully you can understand that alongside all of this bullshit that's happening, we can figure out ways to take these technologies and feed kids and build freedom and literally pull money from the metaverse and put it in the pockets of some guy who had no way of ever making money, not Western grade money for sure, and feed his kids through playing games, through farming, through digging, through just shipping shit, through a million different ways. There's so many different ways that we have to improve the world, to leave the earth cleaner, to create equanimity, to make average people rich, or rich enough to have good conversations with good people and good meals and good places, right? Wake up. Wake up, otherwise we got another one coming. We got another lockdown on the way. Hopefully this one wakes people up, because this one's going to be the beginning of the martial lockdowns, army in the street style lockdowns. 2024, army in the streets, and the riots start when they start taking people's money from the bank. Food supply chains are shutting down. Fertilizer has not reached fields for 9 months. We got 3 months left. 3 months before the season that was supposed to create the food productivity shows up, and shelves food prices are already being jacked up. Energy prices are going through the roof. The global supply chains are broken down completely. Shipping has gone up 8, 10 times to be able to ship things. What do you think happens next? And if you're like, I don't know what happens next time, go back and watch the historical cycles talk. You know the last time they took everything from the banks? Cyprus. Actually, Greece. Before that, it was Cyprus. Before that, it was 1971 when the US president went to all the countries in the world, we're not going to give you your gold. And they did this to the countries. France was like, give us our gold. They're like, what? And you know what everybody did? What would you like? What's the plan? And they went, we're no longer backing this thing with gold. You can just hold the dollars themselves. We're not backing it by anything except for. And everybody went, okay, sounds good. You know the time they did it before that? 1930, 1933. And go back and watch the talks. This is not coming from me. This is coming from Ray Dalio, one of the greatest financial analysts who runs the biggest hedge fund in the world, gathered a multi-million-dollar team and applied millions of dollars to do historical research, and people still didn't read his book. So then he made it into a 45-minute video because you can fit that in between the smoothie bowl and Netflix and chill. And then we took that video and then put all of our research on top and then paused the video along the way and explained to you exactly how the one world government is taking over and fitting all of those metrics perfectly. Then I did years, but 6 months of analysis of historical cycles and tightened them down to a 2-hour video to explain to you exactly where we are in the cyclicality of history, that this didn't just happen in 1930, this happened before that, and before that, and before that, all the way back to Roman times, all the way back to Chinese times. This is just how history works. It's just rinse and repeated with newer technology, rinse and repeated with newer clothing in newer places, okay? The good side is this. If you want to change the world, you got to burn the old one. You don't change the old world. You can't. That's not how the world changes. Decision bias makes sure that the old world has enough power to run. You want to change the world? You wait until the old one burns down. And I'll be honest, I'm the first person to say this. I've been looking for this for a long time. And I know my loved ones are going to die in this. My family is going to die. And I've hugged them to death. Sorry. That's not what I mean. I'm not the one who's going to hug them to death, okay? But it's true. We are all making our own decisions. I can't make their decisions for them. I can try to educate them, but they don't listen. If they don't listen, this process has to happen. But in order for a new, fertile world to exist that supports children in their divinity and with the resources and knowledge for them to build a world that's better, fairer, cleaner, there's more equanimity, and is just the world that we've all been hallucinating and imagining. In order for that to happen, the old world has to burn down and die. And that's the process that's happening right now, and I've just explained to you 1,000 different ways how the old world was shit and how the new world is going to be better in many ways. And in many ways, the new world is going to be shit, and the old world was the old free world that we have. So our goal, we got 5 seconds. Our goal is to marry those two things together. Build farms and metaverse at the same time and hold the door open and go in and out whenever the hell we feel like. Thank you for your time.